Hello everyone, welcome back to my Dark Souls walkthrough. It's a new guy walkthrough, episode 5. I'm back here in voiceover land because for some reason my live commentary did not record, and that's kind of a bummer because I recorded like 3 whole episodes today, so that's a lot of voiceover work I have to do now. But on the plus side, now you don't have to watch necessarily at full speed all the boring stuff. So here we are, just doing administrative stuff, talking to the NPCs, trying to get their their quest lines to go a little further, and do a little bit of leveling up and upgrading and stuff. So I got the applause gesture right there because I had gotten the red eye orb, and I don't know. I think I might talk to Yol as well. Nope, talking to Grey Rat, get the curl up gesture, and talking to Yol to see if I can get the free levels. So at the end of this, I'm gonna do a little death farming because I don't remember where the cutoff is for the free levels, because at some point you can't get them anymore. So I'm gonna just commit suicide a bunch of times, and that's at the very end. So I brought her Divine Tome, so now that unlocks Tears of Denial. It's a really good miracle. What it does is when it's activated, it takes 2 attunement slots, so it's kind of expensive as far as attunement slots go. But it when it's activated, if you would die from damage instead of dying, what ends up happening is you end up taking you don't die, but it resets your life to 1. So it's like a second chance, which is good. So you'll end up getting you can get one more hit, or you can run away and Estus and stuff, but getting 1 extra hit is pretty handy and helpful. A lot of times that'll be all the difference that you need. So right here we're in the Crucifixion Woods, and we're gonna go off to the right at first, so you don't have to deal with those guys. And there's an item down here that you can get. I'm gonna avoid going into the water at first because I don't want the Watchdogs of Farron to invade me right away, because I want to get the coal that's on this side and the armor set and the weapon. And I don't want to deal with the Watchdogs of Farron while I'm dealing with a Black Knight. So right now I'm just switching my armor to get a little bit more poise, because I don't really have a whole hell of a lot right this minute, and poise is pretty important when you're using a greatsword, when you're two-handing it at least, so you can get your hyper armor, which is pretty important. So these little mushrooms will poison you, and this guy in the crucifix right here, they're very aggressive. They have grab attacks and stuff, but a lot of times they won't aggro you right away, so you can get a few free hits on them. But the mushrooms, if you hang around them for too long, they'll put out a poison mist, and that will poison you. But poison's not a very big deal in this game. So right there, that crucifix guy, he's aggroing me. So basically they're going to do 3 or 4 or 5 attacks in a row, and then some dodges backwards. And right there, he's got a grab attack. The grab attack, you don't want it to happen. It hurts. Also, that bite is a grab attack too. Whenever something tries to do a grab attack to you, typically you just roll away, and that'll help, because a lot of grab attacks will catch you through rolls. So right here is a big crystal lizard, and right above my head right now was this great magic weapon. We'll unlock that shortcut in the Farron Keep episode, which is 2 episodes from now. So if you go up this way, the Black Knight will hear you, but he won't aggro on you, and you'll get the sellsword set. And then when you get close to the stairway, the Black Knight will aggro on you. He has a Black Knight shield and the Black Knight Ultra Great Sword. There's only 2 flavors of Black Knights. You have these guys, and then Black Knights that 2-hand axes. So the ones that two-hand the axes, I have a much easier time with because I really, the axe is super easy to parry. But with these guys, you just want to make sure that you're kind of always moving, and you want to try to get around them for backstabs. I don't think I do a very good job of it in this video, but if you stay on their shield side, they don't have any shield attacks, so that kind of makes these guys a little easier than the Lothric Knights in a lot of cases. Like, they won't smack you with their shield, which is pretty great. So if you stay along their shield side, you can often avoid a lot of things. You can parry just about all of their attacks, so if you're good with that timing, they're pretty trivial enemies. So that's the Sellsword Twin Blades. They're a curved sword that it'll either be one or two of them. You start with the Twin Blades if you start as a Sellsword class, or the Warrior class maybe. No, not the Warrior. It's got to be the Sellsword class, but you start with those. They're not that good. There are some higher level builds that use Dark Moonblade, but Dark Moonblade makes everything ridiculous, so it's not necessarily the most viable build choice ever. So right now I'm going to go into the swamp and I'm going to fight the crab, and I'm going to get the Great Swamp Ring. If you're doing a pyromancy build, you are going to definitely want this. And if you start as a pyromancer, you get this, so that saves you a little bit of effort. But yeah, right now he's just being stupid, so I'm just going to throw fire bombs at him. If you go and try to range attack them while they're not trying to attack you, what'll end up happening is after, like, 10 or 12 of them, they'll just bury into the swamp, and then they'll just disappear forever until you reload the area. Sometimes they'll come back with full health, but usually they'll just disappear forever. So, right, see how he reared up like that? And then I hit him. He's got that attack where he rears up. If he does it, you can attack him right in the front and you'll do a critical attack like I did, which will, do a ton of damage. And then if you hit him enough, you'll stagger him and you can do another critical attack. And that's the Great Swamp Ring. So right now I got invaded by a watchdog of Farron. So right now I'm just looking for him. And if you notice on the left-hand side, there he is. They kind of are blue with a little bit of a red tinge to him. This guy, he's AFK. So I'm just going to kill him because there's no reason while I'm recording to wait for him to not be AFK. Mostly because nobody wants to watch that, and I don't really feel like having him screw me over later on when I'm doing something else, trying to show you guys something different. So that's the Great Swamp Pyromancy Tome and the Conjurator set. The Great Swamp Pyromancy Tome will give you more pyromancies, so that's good. And then you get an invasion by an NPC called Yellowfinger Hazel. So Yellowfinger's a she, and of course I'll lock onto a crab. Excuse me. Yellowfinger's a she. She's a mage. She uses a pick, and the pick can be a sorcery catalyst as well. It's not the best sorcery catalyst, but it got a lot of buffs, and it's actually a pretty legit weapon now. She has an obscuring ring on, so she'll be invisible until she gets into a certain range, and then you can see her again. So she can definitely do some ambushes, but pretty much you don't want to trade with you don't want to trade with her because she's got hyper armor. Well, she doesn't. Yeah, she has hyper armor, and basically because that's a war pick, it's gonna do a shitload of poise damage. So whatever poise you have, it's just gonna break right through it. So you're never gonna win a trade, and it's fast. So whenever she hits you once, she can hit you again. So and that's just every PvP scenario. If they hit you with the first hit, they can get a free hit on the second shot. She doesn't usually swing for the fences, but what'll end up happening sometimes is she'll swing once, twice, and then a third time. Like, instead of rolling away there, what I could have done was I could have parried if I had my Kestis out. So right now I got it out. I'm going to try to maybe make that happen again, but I don't think I end up doing it. So pretty much just, you don't want her to have her back to a wall, because what will happen is she'll cast and shoot arrows at you and you won't be able to get behind her. So right now this isn't the best situation, but as long as she keeps casting Great Farron Dart, you can trade with her. So pretty much I just chipped away at her, and that's that. So you'll get her weapon and her hat or her headgear for that. And that item right there I'm not gonna get. It was to the left. It's like the Golden Eagle shield or something, or the Golden Falcon shield or something. It's not that great. I think it has spell parry. I always forget to get it because I don't think it's good, so I just ignore it. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to go and I'm gonna grab this Fallen Knight set. It looks really cool and a lot of people use it. I think I end up using it later on. And so right now I get these two NPCs that sometimes people call Watchdogs of Farron. They both have Exile armor and they have massive strength weapons. So as long as you can kite one out like what I'm doing right now and fight one at a time, they're not bad. So pretty much the Great Club, things to watch out for are right now he did his little war cry, so his heavy attack's gonna swing 3 times like that. I don't usually fall for that, and then but of course, because I'm recording, the Exile Greatsword person shows up. So if that happens, what you can do is what I'm gonna do right now, and it works pretty well. You just hang out over here and they'll come over. So right there where I step down, that's not what you want to happen. So because he'll kick you off and you'll fall to your death. So you want to stay up at the top of the ladder so he can't get on the ladder like he did. And what'll end up happening is they'll try to attack you, and depending on the weapon they have, if it doesn't swing vertically, a lot of times the horizontal swings will make them fall over the edge. And this works really well against player invaders as well. So right over here is a Titanite shard, and I'm gonna go over to this right here, and that's the Grass Crest shield. And basically that thing is like a Chloranthy ring, but on a shield. So it's not the best shield in the world, but it gives you some pretty good stamina regeneration. And now I'm gonna try to separate these guys again, and try again to do what I was trying to do initially. So he's got that war cry going, and he's two-handing. So basically when he's two-handing, you can't parry him. So you want to... So I thought he was doing a light attack, but he hit me with all 3 of his heavy attack. And I whiffed my parry, and then the Exile Greatsword guy showed up. So basically what I'm doing right now is I'm just going to run away, because fighting both of them at the same time is a huge pain. And I'm going to do what I should have did. As long as I stay at the top of this ladder, you'll notice he just falls to his death. And that's a free Exile Greatsword. And you can cheese both of them out like this, but I like to at least fight one of them because they are a fun fight. And I'm going to light this bonfire. This is the Farron Keep bonfire. That way if I die, I don't have a long run back. And that'll save me, post-editing time. Also, it'll save you some run back time, which is nice. And then you don't have to go through this whole area again when you want to tackle Farron Keep. So when you get up there, behind me, I think I don't know what that item is. I think I get it later though. So pretty much what you want to do is just outspace him. He spins around pretty well when he's one-handing it, like his tracking's pretty good. And then you want to just get behind him and backstab him. I think I catch him in like a healing loop right now because his dumb. And that's it. You just kill him. The Great Club, when you're fighting people that are two-handing it, you want to watch out for that heavy attack. So you'll see a lot of non-NPCs, a lot of players will just not even do the war cry, because the war cry gets rid of the baseball swing attack, and that baseball swing attack is just incredible. It catches people out of rolls. You can really play a lot with the timing, and you step forward really, really far when you do that baseball swing. So it's the best attack the weapon has, so the Warcry a lot of times will make the weapon worse. So right now I'm going into Farron Keep only for a second because there's a few items I want to get. Mostly there's an Estus Flask or an Estus Shard that I want to get. And there's some purple moss clumps, which, you know, they'll save me a little bit of time later. But in that video I'll show where all these items are. So if you go to skip through. So we got the Ragged Mask right here, which has pretty good curse resistance, and it has decent poison resist. So it actually is pretty handy when you're going against the basilisks. There's a Titanite Shard over here. And there's another Titanite Shard I think I go get. Maybe not. There's Prism Stones over here, definitely. I get those. Yeah, and then right here's another Titanite Shard. And then there, right over here to the left, is the Estus Shard. So pretty easy to get that. There's no reason not to if you're over here, because it really doesn't take any time or effort. And you know, you get poisoned, but that's not a big deal because you can just go rest at the bonfire, and that fixes that right up. So now I'm going to go up and continue collecting the rest of the items that are in this level. The thing to remember in this level is that the invasions are usually really unrelenting at, you know, anywhere between level 25 and 35. Usually it's just constant invasions. I don't know why I'm not getting invaded so much right now. I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's just the time of the day that I'm playing, because usually, like I said, you just go right in, and then you just, right now I'd be getting invaded by a Watchdog of Farron, like without a doubt. So right now I'm just going up to near the starting area. So if you look right there, that's pretty much where the bonfire would be, up around that switchback. So if you're coming from the bonfire, this is usually the path that I take. I'll drop down right there, and then there's a Titanite Shard, and then I'll go to the left, and there's another Titanite Shard. And this way lets you avoid a lot of just nonsense. There's a lot of enemies that you can avoid by being on this side. Pretty much those guys with the tree spears. There's another Titanite Shard right there. The guys with the tree spears, I almost always avoid them. They're just a huge pain in the butt to fight, because they sometimes they have a lot of hyper armor. They have a lot of damage potential, and you know, it's just, they're not an exciting fight. So I typically just avoid them. They're not going to chase you to the end of the world. And then I think right here there's a dog that just appears. Yeah, like right there, it just randomly appears. And dogs, for some reason, will glitch into appearing, especially when they're like doing that attack. They'll just appear there. So running through areas with dogs is pretty risky. There's a lot of times in, like, when the Ashes of Ariandel DLC came out, I tried to get to there in New Game Plus, because I went to New Game Plus and I never ended up playing and getting to this point on one of my characters, and I wanted to play with that character. And I was running through an area later that you'll see, and there's just like 5 or 6 dogs in the area, and I ran past them. They all just appeared on my tail attacking me, which was pretty profoundly annoying. So that crab right there doesn't give you anything if you kill it, so usually I avoid it. If you look that way, that's the starting area, and then when I was looking over the crab, that's where those 2 exiles were with the exile armor, just to give you a little bit of bearings. So now what I'll usually do is I'll kill these dudes, because they are going to follow you, and you head towards this purple sign. This purple sign is Holy Knight Hodrick. If you wanted to summon him and fight him, you could, and I think you get Vertebra Shackles for killing him. So if you wanted to farm another Vertebra Shackle and have a fairly interesting fight, you could. But he's leveled up now compared to the first time you fought him, and he can be a real pain in the ass. So I'm not going to bother, mostly because there's no reason to. You don't get a really good enough reward. So once you kill them, you drop down right here, and there's an Estus Shard. So that's 2 of them that we've gotten in this episode already. So we're up to 9 now once we get back to the the shrine. So then you have this crucified guy right here that'll just kind of stare at you until you get too close. You want to watch out for this fire right here. I think I get knocked into it. Maybe not. The fire will damage you and the enemies. And then this crucified guy, if you stay far enough away from him, you can get free hits on him. And this encounter gets pretty easy. If you aggro both of them at the same time, your life becomes very difficult because they're both very aggressive, very mobile enemies, and they do a pretty good amount of damage. So right now you can either go through this way or you can go through to the right where there's a staircase right there above my head. And if you go to the left through that little hole in the wall, there's an ambush waiting for you. And it's much easier to take on that encounter from the other side, which I will later. So when you go down here, there's a crucified beast or whatever, and you get a sage ring. The sage ring is vital for all casters. It lowers your casting time by raising your character's virtual dexterity. So it sets your dexterity for casting spells higher. And the only way to speed up your spell casting is to have high dexterity. So what that does is it trades out your ring slot for higher dexterity. So in this room, the first thing I usually do is I'll run up these stairs and I'll go past this guy with the spear and try to kill this caster. So once you kill him, it's a little easier. You don't have to worry about them anymore. And I think right here you can drop down. Yeah, if you drop down right there and then you follow that around, you'll get to that golden falcon shield as well, in case you wanted to get there. And that's also a way to get to that side where the there's a crystal lizard right here. He drops a crystal gem. But I think that's a way to go to the other side where Farron Keep is and not actually touch the swamp. So you can avoid the watchdogs of Farron entirely if you do that. So when you get here, you're behind the shield guy. He's pretty trivial. That way's the critical path, and that's how you get to the boss. The other way is the back side of that ambush I was telling you about. And if you go through these ruined areas right here and you go up these stairs, there's going to be an NPC, Orbeck of Vinheim. If you have 10 intelligence or higher, you can talk to him and have him agree to come back, and he'll be your sorcery trainer. He's a really important character if you're a sorcerer, because there's really no way to learn any of the good sorceries without him. So if you ask him to learn sorceries and you have 10 intelligence, he'll agree.
Very well. Indeed, I am a sorcerer.
I should have sped this up.
With plenty to share. However, what champion demands service without recompense? Clearly you're not that sort of man. So you will make me a promise that in exchange for my teaching, you will bring me knowledge in the form of scrolls detailing sorcery's secrets. Well, can you assure me of this? Very well.
So if you make a promise, basically what you're saying is you're going to bring him scrolls, which is what you would be doing anyway if you're going to be a sorcerer. I like to have him come back anyway because there's some other stuff you can do with him that I'll show in later episodes. So right now there's an item on this little staircase. I think it's like a red bug pellet. It temporarily boosts it's blue bug pellet. Temporarily increases your either frost or magic resistance. I'm not sure. I don't use the bug pellets very often. I don't usually find elemental damage to be too crazy, but I guess it's an option if there's an enemy that uses elemental damage that's giving you a hard time. So if you go through this way and over this bridge, this is going to be the back end of that hole in the wall. And you can kill this guy or knock him down like I did, and you don't have to deal with him right away. And you can just get chopped to ribbons like by these guys when you do plunging attacks trying to look cool. But these are your basic hollows anyway, so they don't hit too hard, but they can overwhelm you if there's a bunch of them. So there's really no reason to go into this room unless you're a sorcerer or you're trying to just get all the items. That staff right there is probably the best low-level staff you're going to get for a while. If you don't have super high intelligence, it has the highest magic adjust, I think, below 40 intelligence. I think, unless they adjusted it, which they have been adjusting a bunch of stuff lately, and I don't think they adjusted that, but the Heretic Staff's basically something you're going to want if you're a sorcerer. So if you go straight through that way, there's guys on the sides that are going to come in behind you and like kind of bum rush you, so you're going to want to use these pillars as cover for the spells and just kill these guys. There's an NPC summon right there. I think it's Egon, the Ghostbuster man, with his magnificent giant hammer. He can help you with this Crystal Sage fight. But I usually don't bother because I don't often find the Crystal Sages to be difficult, or this Crystal Sage at least. And then yeah, you just kill these guys, and that wizard didn't aggro me, so that's nice. So pretty much, you know, you can summon him if you want. This game's pretty good about putting NPCs around, so if you're not playing online, you can still have help with the bosses of varying levels of helpfulness, but, you know, it's still there. So that's that entrance I came in, where there was that wizard on the top of the stairs. So this all interconnects pretty well. So right now I'm going to equip the bandit's knife. It's only a raw +1 bandit's knife, so it's not the, you know, it's not going to be the apex of damage. But this Crystal Sage is very weak to bleed, so you can get them to bleed really quickly. Yeah, I think I switched to this, but then I switched back because the Mirror set has better magic defense, and that's mostly all the attacks you're going to get are going to be magic attacks, so you're going to want to have good magic defense. So right through that door, that's where the Crystal Sage is going to appear. So pretty much what you want to do is just get in the Crystal Sage's face and just stomp him. That's usually how it works for me. Some people have a much harder time than others. Like the Crystal Sage is pretty resistant to magic. So you see right there, his 500 damage on a +1 bandit's knife. Like, got him to bleed pretty easily. Right now I'm just going to switch to the Hollow Slayer Greatsword to see what kind of damage I can get on him. And typically what'll end up happening is you'll do like about 500 damage, like 5 or 6 hits to him, and then he'll teleport away. But I don't know, right now these staggered R1s seem to be just putting in work. Normally at half life, the Crystal Sage will get to their second stage, and the trick here is you want to look for the caster that's casting purple. So you know, typically I'll just run straight for them, but because I was trying to show you, I kind of didn't. And also the Crystal Sage did melee attacks to me, which I've never friggin' seen. And yeah, so what'll end up happening there is you get killed if you take too long with that sage, because then all those other sages, the clones, will just shoot tons of magic at you and whoop your butt. So right now I'm just running back. As you can see, you don't even need to deal with any of these guys. You can just roll right through them and past them. And I think I'm going to Ember up. Yeah. So Ember up, and then I don't use the Bandit's Knife now. I'm just going to use the Hollow Slayer Sword, because it does pretty good damage. So the things to think about when you're at this fight is you want to use the pillars to your advantage as much as possible. Usually it's not dangerous to get in this guy's face and just beat the crap out of him, but sometimes he'll hit you with melee attacks, as you can see, and those melee attacks don't tickle, so yeah, you definitely don't want to get in his face if he's going to do melee attacks to you. But yeah, so what you can do is have a quick weapon equipped and just attack all these clones right away. The clones, if you hit them, they don't do any damage to the main life bar of the boss, but they only take one hit. So like any damage will get rid of them, and then you won't have all these projectiles hitting you. So that's a pretty good strategy. If you can get cover from the other ones while killing them, I would do that. And then you just go get in his face, and you know, here he is with the melee attacks again. Pretty nuts. But the bandit's knife is a pretty good choice, like as you can see. It doesn't take a lot of stamina, and the damage output's pretty high. So again, I'm just going through and trying to kill all these blue guys. But because there's only one shot left, I'm pretty much just going to try to use this archway as cover and hit him one time. Once you kill him, it kills all his clones, and that's the boss fight. So this guy can be pretty easy. There's usually a lot of help. People will go and put their signs down because you get a pretty decent chunk of souls for killing him. 8,800 right now is pretty good. You get less as a phantom, but it's still an easy boss fight to help people. So you'll notice at this point we have 20,000 plus souls. So we're gonna go back to Firelink Shrine and spend those souls because losing souls is a bummer. And although it's kind of a cost of doing business sometimes, there's no reason that you have to have that happen. You can avoid it. And it's important not to get mad if you lose souls, because that's like one of those things that a lot of people will just quit. They'll lose like 20,000 souls and they'll be like, I'm all done. It's not that bad. You can get them pretty quick. You know, you can just sit and farm for a minute and get enough souls, and it'll just ultimately get you better at the game in certain areas because you'll know more about the enemies. So pretty much the Crystal Sage soul, you can get Crystal Hail and the Crystal Sage's Rapier. Neither of them are any good. Crystal Sage's Rapier will get you better soul absorption and better item find, I think. So it's farming gear, but otherwise it's not really worth it. So right now I'm getting some free levels from Yol because I died a few times and my hollowing went up. So pretty much what's going on now is I sent Grey Rat to go pillage, and I'm just checking out what he's got right now, which isn't a whole lot. When he comes back from pillaging, he'll have some pretty good stuff. So yeah, so I gave the coal to Andre, and now we can do fire infusions and I think poison infusions, which aren't the best, but you know, now we have a little bit of expanded vocabulary and how we can deal with that. So the pyromancy tome that I just gave him has profuse sweat, which ups your elemental resistance, all of it, and it ups also it had what was that? I don't know. It's not really any good anyway. Most of that stuff's like whatever. It's all gonna be whatever until you get like Karthus Flame Arc. Oh no, it had Fire Orb. So Fire Orb's gonna be pretty good as a starting off Pyromancer. That's gonna be your first decent damaging spell. So now we're heading back, and we're gonna go through the Road of Sacrifices so that we can get over to the Cathedral of the Deep. And this area you cannot be invaded in, and you can't get help in. So if you look right there, there's one of the guys with the cages carrying sacrifices to the cathedral, and there's two crystal lizards that you can kill, and they'll both give you Twinkling Titanite. Now I don't have any weapons that upgrade with Twinkling yet. I think some of the shields that I got, like the Grass Crest shield, upgrades with Twinkling Titanite. And then you can go up through this way and get onto the main road, the path where that cage guy is, or you can go this way. And then you can get behind this Evangelist and grab the Herald set. The Herald set's pretty good. It's not min-max, but it's pretty close. I don't really like the way it looks, so I usually avoid it. And then usually you can get behind this chick and backstab her. But, you know, my super good playing is leading me to get hit with that grab attack, which I don't think I've been hit with in a while. So if that sort of thing happens, just run across this bridge. If they do chase you, which I doubt, there's a bonfire right here anyway, so if you light it, you can get to it, and if you die, it's not a big deal. So I'm just gonna go reset, and then I'm gonna go show them what's up, because I'm not letting her give me a bear hug without killing her. It's no good. Because I'm usually a better player than that. But when I record, I'm not. So that's pretty much the end of that. So in any case, we're going to pretend like I didn't run away. And so you go sneak up on her and kill her. And then you can try to aggro these guys one at a time. But that doesn't always work. So you want to try to separate them. You don't want to get in between them when they're doing all their attacks, because they'll cause bleed really quickly. And then once you kill one, it's a lot easier to kill the other one. You can't backstab them because they have a cage on their back, so, you know, pretty typical now. But you can parry basically all of their attacks. So that makes them a lot easier if you get better at the timing. Bleed builds up through shield blocks. I know I don't have, I don't often block, but that's a real consideration for somebody that's using a 100% shield against these guys, because they can do a lot of damage through your shield by chipping that bleed through your shield. Now, if you time it right, bleed builds up at a certain rate, and then it does all the damage in one shot. You can roll. If you time the roll right, you'll be invulnerable, and you won't take the damage from the bleed, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's probably not the idea of the makers of the game, but it's definitely a way of dealing with it. So there's a guy down here with a Fallen Knight set, and he's got, I think, a broadsword or a longsword. He'll throw kukris at you, and then he's got a bandit's knife that he blocks with like a dummy. And yeah, so at first you look at him and you're like, oh man, he's probably like one of those Undead Legion guys, but no, he's not. He's just a regular old dumb knight with the Fallen Knight set, and he's above the Paladin's Ashes. I don't know the significance of this. I feel like there probably is some, and somebody's explored it. I am not that person. So if you go to the left over here, there's one of the cooler views in the game, I think, which is nice. I always like how you can just find different vistas, and you can see where you are compared to where you were, and you can kind of plot your advance. So those are the 3 torches that we'll be putting out at Farron Keep. And then if you look up, that's Lothric Castle, and then there's the bridge that we'll fight the Stray Demon on to the right later. And then, you know, above us, more or less, is the Undead Settlement, because now we're going underneath and around to the Cathedral of the Deep, where the Road of Sacrifices leads, because that's, you know, Aldrich was taking all sorts of people and devouring them, and yeah, he became some sludgy ooze thing. So that's the Crest Shield. The Crest Shield has decent magic resist, I think. It's magic block. So this is going to be kind of like your magic block shield, if I'm correct. Mostly dark. So that's going to be your dark block shield if things are doing dark damage. Like a lot of it, that's going to be your shield if dark damage is getting you down. Yeah, so now we're going to go fight this other NPC that has the spider shield and a axe. So she throws kukris at you as well. The spider shield used to be good in the first one because it had poison block, Poison block's not a thing anymore. I don't know why. So the spider shield just looks cool now. It doesn't really do a lot of anything else. So I was trying to parry, did a whiff because she threw a kukri at me. But right now, if you just space it correctly, you can just poke her. And she can't really do a lot as long as you stay out of her range and then just do little pokes. Otherwise, this is not a very interesting fight. It can get a little hairy sometimes because she can do a lot of damage if you let her. But because we have so much health, she's not really an issue. So we just be patient and wait for her to make a mistake, even though all I'm doing right now is making mistakes. But as long as you just keep trying to keep your spacing good and just punish the mistakes she makes, back off and heal, you'll be good. Yeah, let's check out the spider shield real quick. So other than looking cool, it does 88 physical. No, that's the block. 80 physical, 50 magic. So it's pretty much junk. And it weighs 3.5, so it's not even that light. It just looks cool. I think it's a medium shield, so it doesn't have a fast like parry animation. It's just not good compared to how it used to be. In the first one, it was very helpful getting through Blighttown. So in this area, there's dogs that ambush you. This is that area I was talking about, that if you just try to run through it, the dogs will just appear behind you, eating you. So there's going to be like 4 or 5 guys with arbalists, and they're going to shoot at you while these dogs harass you close. So what you can do is try to just, see, it just appears behind you. You can just kite them out of the way so that they can't hit you, and you can try to use the trees for cover. But if you notice, the arrows will curve as they get close to you. So sometimes they'll curve around the trees, and it's super annoying. But I guess that's how the game deals with, you know, slow arrows, because the arrows would go so much faster in real life. There'd be like really no dodging them. So this is like a gameplay consideration, like an ease of use, because you'd never be able to dodge these things if they went like normal speed. So yeah, you just get pummeled on by these guys, and this is why we have so much health, so we can play poorly, because we all do sometimes. Once you kill most of the dogs, then you can start taking these crossbow guys out, because the crossbow guys aren't going to do a whole lot as far as melee. They're just going to keep shooting at you with the bows. And then you go over, and I think there's an item to the left. It might be fire bolts or something, but we'll go get that right now and kill this last jerk. So they won't do anything as far as melee. They might push you with the crossbow, so it's a large soul. It's like barely worth getting. And yeah, so this area is probably one of my least favorite encounters in the game, just because I hate dogs in this game. I love dogs in real life. I hate dogs in this game. So we're gonna go around the corner, and we're gonna find the Cleansing Chapel bonfire. So this is basically the beginning of the Cathedral of the Deep. It's going to be your main hub bonfire for this whole time. And you're introduced to these, I don't know, hollows that want to kill themselves. I don't know what you would call them. But they they stab themselves, they light themselves on fire, and then they'll dive, and they'll do a ton of damage to pretty much whatever's around them. And there's an Estus shard right there. So once you get that Estus shard, you can open this double door, and that's going to be your bonfire for the foreseeable future. So this guy is a slave knight. Can't remember his name. He's Uncle something. And if you have the Ashes of Ariandel DLC, he'll be there, and he'll talk about what he talks about. If you talk to him, he'll make you touch a piece of a painting, and you will go to the painted world, which is pretty cool. It was like one of my favorite areas in the first Dark Souls, especially when I finally figured out how to get there by watching guides like this one. Probably better than this one, but you know, either way. So right now I'm just giving all the ashes and selling some stuff to stuff I'm never going to use for this character. Mostly strength stuff and shields that I'll never use. And I'm just trying to get enough to level up. So once I can level up, pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm just going to buy something that I think might be useful. I think I buy the charcoal pine resin. Yeah. Oh, that's what I bought. Prism stones and an undead hunter charm. And now I'm going to go to the foot of the high wall and I'm going to farm deaths. So I'm going to lose one of my embers, and that sucks, but this'll get me 3, yeah, because I got 2 already. So this is going to get me 3 levels. So there's no reason not to do it. So pretty much you get to the foot of the high wall and you just jump off a bunch of times. I think once you get to about 15 hollowing, which you can check on your character screen, which I will in a minute. And I take everything off just so I can run a little faster, because I think I get 2 hollowing every time I die, so that's probably like, I think it was at 3, so I need to die 6 times at least. So this is kind of a boring process, but if you're not dying a lot and you want those free levels, it's definitely worth it. You want to get those free levels after you get levels with your souls, because if you get the free levels first, your levels that you pay for with souls will cost more. So pretty much right now I'm just upping my endurance, and then once you do that, he'll tell once you've gotten 5, he's going to say you've attained ample strength. So then what you can do is you can just reload the area by going to any of the other tabs and then clicking the Firelink Shrine. So you don't go on the Firelink Shrine tab, but you go to the other ones and you click the Firelink Shrine shortcut and it'll reload even though you're at that same bonfire. And then you talk to Yuria of Londor. Now she's going to be really important in one of the endings. She pretty much sets up the Lord of Hollows ending, which is what I'm going to try to get, because I actually haven't gotten that one yet. I keep missing little stupid things here and there, so that's pretty much what I'm going to do. She sells a Dark Hand and a bunch of rings. Dark Hand's pretty good because it doesn't have a stat requirement. It's only good low level for PvP. You'll see a lot of low level invasions have that. But that's this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry about the voiceover work. And thanks. Bye.